Hi, it's Steve. Today we'd like to show you how to change the lower suspension cup on your top load washer. It's a really easy repair. Let me show you how we do it. Now, to do this repair, we will have the washer opened up and have exposure to some electrical circuits. So the first thing we're going to do is to disconnect power to the washer. That may be as simple as pulling it far enough forward that you can unplug it, or locate the electrical panel, turn off the appropriate breaker, or remove the appropriate fuse. Once we've done that, we can start the repair. Now, if the suspension cup that you're changing is on the front, we simply need to raise the main top up and then do the repair from there. Now, if we're replacing one of the rear suspension cups, you may wish to pull the washer far enough forward that we can remove the back panel. That may involve disconnecting your inlet fill hoses and your drain hose as well. Now, once we're at the back of the washer, we're going to remove these 1/4-inch hex head screws that secure that back panel to the cabinet. Be sure to hold it in place as you remove the last screw, and then we need to pull that away from that tab on the drain hose mounting bracket. You may need to depress that tab slightly so that it will clear. Then lift it away from the base of the washer cabinet and set it aside. Now, before we lift that main top up, what we want to do is secure the lid to it first. So we'll just take some duct tape, tape the lid to the main top, be sure that we don't carry that duct tape down to the cabinet. Now next, we'll take a thin putty knife and we're going to go into this gap between the main top and the cabinet, and we'll locate a couple of spring clips that hold that top in place. Locate them with the putty knife and then line them up on it. Push back and depress that spring clip. At the same time, we'll lift up on the top. You'll then see the location of that spring. Hold it in place. Do the same on the opposite side. Once we've released the top from the springs, we're then ready to tilt it into an upright position. Now, because that top is quite heavy, you'll either want to have somebody hold it in place, or better yet, we'll take a lanyard, secure it to the top and to the frame around the top of the cabinet and allow it to support itself. Make sure the washer is pulled far enough forward. Lift that top up, and we'll use one of these holes on the metal tab on the bottom side of that top to attach our lanyard to. And as well, we'll pick one of the holes through the frame on top of the cabinet, and that will support it in place. Now, our next step will be to take a pair of locking pliers, and we're going to clamp those onto the suspension rod of the cup that we're changing. We'll lift up on that suspension rod, remove the upper bearing and cup, set those aside, and we'll drop that suspension rod down through, and then we'll knock the lower cup out either with a broom handle, or if you're working on the rear ones, we can simply remove the back panel and pop it out from there. So we'll get a good firm clamp on that suspension rod. Now, as we lift up on it, we'll disengage that top bearing. Simply push it down out of the way and pull it out. You can then drop it down through the cup at the top. Now, at this point, you can remove the locking pliers and we can knock that cup off the mount on the side of the tub. So next, we're going to remove that old cup. Again, if you're looking at the front ones, we simply take something like a broom handle and just knock those two pins or tabs inward, and that will pop right out of the mount on the side of the tub. Slide it up over the rubber protector off the end, discard the old one. Let's make sure there's enough lubrication on top of that ball on the suspension spring. If not, add a little bit of number 2 grease to the top. We'll then line it up through that opening. Again, if you're working from the top, all you need to do is give a sharp pull upwards on that suspension rod, and it will lock it in place. We'll now go back and raise that main top, reach down in, grasp the suspension rod with our locking pliers, and sit it back into the cup on the top. We'll just reach in with our locking pliers, make sure we get a firm grip on that suspension rod. Make sure we have the upper bearing in place. We'll lift that rod up through the opening. Pivot that bearing around until it lines up so that the hook on that suspension rod is opposite the slot. Allow it to drop back down into place. We can remove our locking pliers. Now we're ready to put the main top back down. And if you've removed the back panel, we'll install that next. Now, when reinstalling that back panel, we want to make sure that we engage these 2 tabs on the bottom into these 2 notches that are cut into the base frame. So line those up carefully, tilt the panel into place. Secure one side with a screw. Make sure that the tab on the bracket that secures the drain hose engages and pops out to the outside of that panel. And then we'll just go ahead and install the rest of the retaining screws. So again, we'll just support that top, tilt it forward, remove our lanyard, and then we're going to lower that top down. We'll try to line up these 2 tabs with the holes in them with the 2 mounting studs on the top of that frame. Once we have that lined up, we're just going to press down firmly on that top so that it engages the 2 spring clips. We'll then remove the tape that secured the lid. Now that we have the main top down and secure, we're ready to push the washer back into place. You can reconnect the fill hoses if you've disconnected them for this repair, reconnect the power, and your repair is complete.